you have a card here. Love should look and feel like love. Manipulation don't look like love. Control doesn't feel like love. Appeasement doesn't look like love, which that would have been appeasement if I would have continued it.
Yes. And that is of great detriment to us to not draw the line at what begins to hurt us spiritually, mentally, or physically. It's no more appropriate to let someone pop you in the mouth than it is to let them poop in your ear.
Can we let this breathe? That's what it is, though.
Welcome to Call for the Truth. I am Lota of the Sun, and this is Tavares of the Sun. And we welcome you to today's podcast. We're going to be talking about ancestors. But before we begin, Tavares, will you bring us into the Call for Truth?
Well, certainly. We encourage you all who are tuning into this transmission, join us in this call for the truth. Shall we call forth the frequency of truth? Shall we call to see the truth in all that we see? Shall we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Shall we call to speak the truth, calling forth the courage to speak the truth? Shall we call forth nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? And we are in the truth.
Yay.
If you want to continue joining us in the call for the truth, hit that like, subscribe, and that bell notification. And we are here, Louds of the Sun, talking about ancestry, but specifically, there's some things that have been taking place. We have noticed that within our collective, we are working on popping ourselves out of the third dimensional experience, engaging more in fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, even higher in terms of the dimensional perception. But there are some tethers that people are feeling. People are feeling like, yo, there's something holding me back. And we have did some observations, and we see that a great deal of it is our ancestry. The decisions of those who have came before us, the pull within the DNA to continue to repeat these same loop negative cycles that we know. I'm just like, I'm doing that thing my mama do. I'm doing that thing that my daddy do. Oh, look, my grandpa did that. You know, and of course the siblings, and you might see it in your children. So this is a reality. Would you speak? I don't know where you really want to begin, but where would you like to begin actually on this idea? Because we can. I know where I want to go, but where would you like to go?
I think I'd like to start at the beginning.
Why did I not just say, let's start at the beginning? That's what I'm going to do next time. I'm going to say, Lauta, will you take us to the beginning?
I'm going to go to the beginning of where humanity has been tampered with, which was in many, this is the sixth Earth. There have been 5 Earths before this. And this situation began millions of years ago, where we were deprived of our 12 strands of DNA and walked the third dimensional realm. And there was so much pain and suffering from our ancestors. We can all think back about terrible stories that we've heard that our ancestors have endured, that humanity has gone through, even in the illegitimate history that has been presented to us that ignores her story and only has his story. Even in that, we can see war and plagues and Black Death and, you know, horrendous things, flooding, endings of worlds, all of these kinds of things, endings of indigenous people. So that this is the biology, the DNA from which third dimensional 2 strands human pull upon. That cannot be ignored. It is not all misery, but it is greatly
good majority.
and between, you know, religious persecution and wars and genocides, all of these things are part of the lexicon of humanity. And the reality is that we have met our own ancestry, our own lineage that is against us. We all know someone or know someone who knows someone whose ancestry is against their forward motion and progress. So now we have come to the time where we are in the fourth dimension. We are legitimately in the fourth dimension, where all things become more available. Things like DNA reconnection have become more available and more understandable. And just the fact that we know it exists means it's obtainable in many different ways and iterations. The fact that we know that we are greater than what we were made to think we were in our educational process of, don't keep your head up, don't, make sure they don't call on you. Don't try to stand out. If you say something, you may be, whack-a-mole. Who do you think you are? We're all
That's a big one.
All of those things have happened to all of us. What's wrong with you? You should have done. The should-haves. You should-haves. Now because you didn't, now the should-haves have got you. It's all of these things in of course, the belief systems that are limiting. So we've got all of this in our experience, and here we all are, all the ones who knew that they had the ability to contribute to this time in the galactic moves on the chessboard to reorient humanity, to bring us forward through our original blueprint and to show us what has not been shown, to introduce us to our original ancient ancestors who were cosmic, galactic beings who brought us forth and seeded us on this planet. So now that reality exists, and there are many, there is much talk about this amongst those who study these matters. Even though, of course, our science, the ones who produce the cell phones that give us brain injury, our science has not yet agreed that any of this is true. But I present to you that we all know that our ancestry is not all for us. And that now that we are in the fourth dimension, the hallmark of the fourth dimension is do no harm. And that immediately means to self first. So separating ourselves from the harm that's in our own DNA and in our own lineage is an internal decision that could lead to external benefit through health, wellness, relationships, education, all processes that free us from limitation and from lack and from the thinking that that we cannot have what we want because our ancestors didn't have what they want and their ancestors didn't have what they wanted, and so it goes. Until we can get back to the fact where we can remember, we can join back up to the memory of who we actually are and what we can actually have. So the identifying the ancestors in our current understanding. So without you having to go into a deep belief system, you don't have to become a devout believer of anything to just look at your own ancestry and know who's who and who's for you and who is not. And what that means, and it applies to those who have left as well, who have hard-held ideas that still exist within your DNA. But you have the power to untie all those knots. So that's where I wanted to start.
All right, in the beginning. Thank you for taking us to the beginning. And that allows us to see the greater context.
Yes.
I think that's something, I have seen that we observe our experience through the lens of a shallow understanding of just how much has taken place with the soul and the lineages and really how long we've been here. I have noticed that the reference points for our ancient history usually only goes back to Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu, and some other landmass that I don't know the name of. And then anything beyond that is just we don't know. And you're speaking about there are several Earths or cataclysms and deconstruction, rebuild several times. So much has been lost but it's still broadcasting at the same
Yes.
time from the DNA. And I think that's so important because I mean, you were speaking about so many different things, such as in the most recent times on Earth, at least the last 500, 1,000 years, what has happened with ancestry and the trauma and the suffering and the witch hunts and the this and the that and the religious prosecution. It does help give a sense of compassion to the human condition, but you've also elaborated on how we can make some changes, speaking specifically on addressing what's inside first, recognizing that, okay, that's in me, and specifically the do no harm. Let me see how the behavior within my lineage is harmful to self. Because we've
Yes.
been taught to hurt self, to
Yes.
self-sabotage, to run into walls until until we're bleeding out, literally and figuratively, emotionally, through choices, habits, belief systems. But we can change it.
Yes, and one of the things you bring to mind is that how many people have chosen a friend or a partner or a lover or a husband knowing that the person is in severe detriment, knowing that they're sick with a disease, which would indicate the need for correction at some level, medical correction, mental correction, or chosen someone who's um, showing signs of needing to be corrected at some level, and then we choose to take on that experience when we have not yet stabilized ourselves.
Yeah.
And it is true that when a person is willing to sabotage themselves, they're most certainly willing to sabotage you. And so this, really applies, and you brought it to mind that how many of us not only carry detriment, but our ancestors carried that same detriment. And we're repeating this pattern of choosing ever increasing levels of detriment to ourselves through our choices in others.
If you're a conscious investor looking to make a difference, you need to hear about Aluka Gold. Because doing good and doing well isn't just a dream, it's our promise. Let's face it, everyone wants their money to work harder. But what if your gold investment could do double duty? Aluka Gold is more than just precious metal. We're committed to ethical sourcing and total transparency so you know exactly where your gold comes from and who it helps. Every ounce you invest helps support real miners and their communities with humanitarian projects and fair wages. That's not just good business, it's good for the world. You get solid, physical gold, plus the pride of knowing your investment brings hope and opportunity to families who need it most. So why settle for ordinary returns when you can spark extraordinary change? Invest with purpose. Invest with Aluka Gold. Do good, do well, and let your gold investment shine brighter than ever.
Yeah, that's a whole nother lane. And I'll share with you where my mind was going. I could see where some of us have this construct of when we take on the other person who's clearly problematic. Clearly they got issues, but there's something about them that is doing something for us, like maybe filling a void or uh, the limited perception that that is happening where it's not the truth. And then we take on all of it, like, and thinking I could fix them. And that's something I saw, this thing. And then you have the I can fix them, but I have not fixed myself. And it's just this weird dynamic. And then you're upset that they're not letting you fix them. And that's not even how it works. Like, you can't fix them. You can only give them the tools to, here's your wrench, tighten that little area up. But they don't want to grab the wrench, Lota. That's where my mind went.
Well, and so I'm saying that in kind of bringing it into the ancestry idea of that we come from a pot of that. All of humanity is in a pot of those who sabotage selves, and then in our connection to them through the living DNA or our active participatory connection, then we are now subject to their sabotage.
So that right there, I think, is a very important key to understand. Sometimes people, I know I've experienced this, where you're like, look, man, you crazy, man, you might hurt me, and I can't trust you. And it's like, it's really understanding who you're dealing with, recognizing, and you don't give a person enough rope to hang you and them, right? And so I do see where there's a level of mindfulness of engaging, especially with family,
Oh my goodness.
understanding what family's capable of in their detriment. I know if I let them hold my vehicle, or if I let them stay in my place, or I do such and such, XYZ is bound to happen, because it's happened 5, 7, 28 times already. They've shown me who they are, but it's as though there's something, I see that there's something in us, programming or some type of distortion, that is willing participants with the sabotage, with allowing and permitting
And
it.
that's really what I'm speaking to, is that we're choosing it, whether we actually realize we're choosing it or not.
Yeah.
We're, even though it may be active in the lineage and active in the DNA, like we may know that there are those in our family who have not yet learned, because all souls are not at the same level. We're not all seniors in high school.
It's elementary, kindergarten,
And
daycare.
So everybody is learning at their own, in their own process, at their own level, and compassion must be exercised, but you do not have to sacrifice your life. You do not have to die on the altar because someone else is in kindergarten. That is not necessary, but it is necessary that you can be compassionate yet detached, which I learned from the angels. You can be detached from the outcome, where I see your learning and I support your learning experience, but you're big enough that you can go to the potty now. Like I'm not going to change your diapers.
Yeah.
And so often we make choices because our ancestors made choices, that we're just going to keep changing the diapers and have that experience of the child never growing up.
I have a side thought with that. What's coming up is this distorted perception of what we think love is.
Yes.
And in that type of behavior of, I'm going to keep doing the thing for them and changing the diaper, or I'll take the abuse because I love them. And this is what family does. This is how we love each other, or show each other.
Yeah,
that
and
we
they
care.
feel compelled and guilty if they don't take every level of abuse given. Like, you should still continue to support the person, even if the person has been abusive or difficult, or has shown they have no interest in the support. And of course, I am not in agreement with that.
And this is why I brought up this idea of trusting the experience and understanding, being mindful of who everyone is and where everyone is. You can't expect a senior, a kindergarten or elementary to operate like a senior or college student. Right. It's
so you have to know who everybody is and how they're participating. At the same time, as you spoke of love, you have to love yourself enough to love yourself out of it.
Which that's, and in my experience, I have seen that's when you got to go and get those programs, where there are active programs that even when you know it's not appropriate, there's something in us that compels us to put yourself on the altar, like sacrifice yourself for some weird obligation that has been created years before you even incarnated.
I am not in harmony with there being blood on the altar today that is mine.
I'm with you. None of that sacrificial lamb stuff.
And I think this is difficult, especially for those in organized religions and those who are have a different aspect of what love means in their social vernacular.
Oh gosh.
Because it is my clarity that the first law is self-preservation, and that to be appropriately grateful to Creator, we must love the creation that we are first, which means you have to protect it. And I'm on board with that, and that's my solution and recommendation, is be in respect of what Creator made you. Now protect it and elevate it.
I think that's a great North Star for people.
Yes.
If you're like, how do I deal with my family? I'm evolving and I can feel the pull of the DNA. Is this engagement operating in self-preservation or not? I want to share, I had a real life experience yesterday with my grandmother. I had not spoken to her for a little while, and we're catching up, and everything's everything. Everything's peachy. And then we get to this one point in the conversation where she's about to tell me something, but before she tells me, she needs to go through this long story of suffering. And I was like, oh man, I felt it. It was like unavoidable. It was as though I had exposed myself to a nuclear plant, like toxic waste. And I'm checking with my guidance. I'm like, do I just hang up? Or like, but I know this is not appropriate, but at the same time, I don't want to be aggressive. I want to be respectful and have compassion. How do I operate? Is that just tell her you're unavailable for it, and in the kindest way, like, look, Granny, you reliving it. You hurting, and now I'm hurting from your hurt, and I don't want us to go through that. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. But that I see was an action of self-preservation, because sometimes we feel obligated due to the relationship, and even especially a dynamic like this is an elder, this is someone you appreciate, you love them, but is that love? You have a card here. Love should look and feel like love. Manipulation don't look like love. Control doesn't feel like love. Appeasement doesn't look like love, which that would have been appeasement if I would have continued it.
Yes. And that is of great detriment to us to not draw the line at what begins to hurt us spiritually, mentally, or physically. It's no more appropriate to let someone pop you in the mouth than it is to let them poop in your ear.
Can we let this breathe? That's what it is, though. Thank you. I'm gonna use that. Don't let them poop in your ear. Why are you doing that? And then you're left trying to. This is disgusting, right? Why'd you do that? You didn't have to sit there and do it, but you did. Why? Why'd you do that?
Right.
This is good. This is
I
hilarious.
didn't know it's gonna land like that.
Yo,
but okay.
Landed. Luggage is off. We onboarding.
It is imperative with our ancestors that we draw the line and that we determine what it is consciously and intentionally that we will take on as the baggage of the clear, compassionate history that we have for our ancestry. And that's such an excellent story. You know, your beloved grandmother, who I know you love and adore, but it's like, I cannot let you take me down that path again. I've been down. It's like Neo from The Matrix. You know where this is going to go.
It had been a month since I last spoke to her. That was one of the reasons why I was like, it's going to be a while. Oh, gosh. But I think it's a beautiful thing, right? Because these things, they will continue to cycle until we get the lesson, until we have the courage to address it. Again, in a way where you're not vindictive or you're, condemning the person. It felt like a level of maturity.
And I'm sure that if her desire to speak to her beautiful grandson is such that she will learn. And if we don't give the parameters in which a person learns how to interact with us, then it becomes offensive to us, and then they lose ground. So then we lose someone we love because we have not taught them how to interact with us.
This is making me think about how when we think of love, it's such a one-sided thing where we think it's just this open, you're available. But I have been seeing, especially through engagement in the light body movement, we're in the heart center now. And it is really this dualistic where you're open, but you got boundaries.
Yes, absolutely.
Because of that love for self that you were talking about earlier.
That's right. Not only do you have boundaries, but you have a respect for self and respect for the law. So I think that that's probably as much as we can really talk about today with that.
I'm good. My cup is filled. I hope your cup is filled. And if you want some more, Join a light body movement class. We're working on the heart chakra. We also have, specifically because we were talking about ancestry, we have ancestry clearing services. Clear them disagreeables up out of your field. And you can also do some ancestry work by diving into our energy clearing protocol.
Right.
It's a series of advanced soul clearings. Advanced soul clearing 1, we are primarily focused on past life interferences. Advanced soul clearing 2, we are focused on bondage and enslavement through relationships and through the lineage. And then advanced soul clearing 3, we are focused on the biology, health, and then you can also have a quantum-like property clearing to fortify your space to support you in your growth and evolutionary process.
So we hope that you will join us in this. Are you going to pull a card for today?
Right. You gotta pull a card.
You talked
today.
about the cards. I hope you'll pull one today. This idea of ancestry is very important for us to think of because we don't really have the clarity that we are the embodiment of those who have come before us. We have it theoretically, but we don't actually have it. We don't actually have the understanding that we really are the embodiment of our grandmothers 6 generations into the past, our grandfathers many generations into the past, our most ancient ancestors who are cosmic presences in our lives, that all of these are informing us to the highest extent. But if once we understand that, then we can say, oh, I know my great grandmother married somebody who was not good to her, and I know she made the wrong choice because she wasn't well informed, but I'm going to inform myself. So what is the question today?
I'm asking to see the truth regarding breaking free from the negative patterns and programming of our ancestry.
Excellent. Thank you. So we're pulling the cards, and the card is
Acceptance.
acceptance.
Heart.
Yes.
Be like a child. Get over it. Keep moving.
Oh my goodness, that is so perfect, because how many people do we meet who are still in the pain and suffering of many decades ago that have not gotten over it like a child, and they have lost their flexibility, lost the ability to move, the mutability to move from what was not pleasant to the joy that is available.
Yeah.
So we thank you all for joining us. That card pull was really wonderful. I hope you'll remember that. We give you the greetings of In Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude. Thank you.